All right, everyone. Good to have you all in here. Good to have you, Jesse. You can all see my screen. If you can, just say yes in the chat. I want to make sure that you can see my screen, that you can hear me and Jesse okay. I want to know that you are here, that you are with us. Great. Great, 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 great. Siobhan, of course, Siobhan can see the screen. Super. And as I said before, I want to know your location. Comment your location. Jesse, I'm going to get started right with this and introduce you and introduce us and then get you started to teach. And our goal is to teach people how to close sales in 30 minutes.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So you're all commenting your location, San Antonio. A lot of people who live really close to me. This is where I grew up. I wonder how many people even recognize this, Jesse. Queens, New York, the part of New York that most people don't care about, but that's where I grew up. And what you're supposed to do when you grow up, Jesse, in Queens, is you're supposed to grow up and get a job and really put food on the table. They love to say put food on the table in Queens. My dad, though, Danny would take me across the bridge into Manhattan and he'd point out to these like a real good immigrant. He'd go, "Look at all these buildings over here. Every one of them was built by someone like you." Like the Chrysler building. He loved the Chrysler building for some reason. He knew Chrysler was a man, unlike some of these other buildings where you don't know the name of the person. He'd go, "You could do this too. Go ahead, build a business at some point. Maybe you'll have a building named after you." That was like the ultimate for my dad, having a building named after you. But the thing he was trying to say was, you could build a company. It's not just about putting food on the table. And so as soon as my brother and I graduated from school, Jesse, I don't even know if you saw this. This is the first site that I created, an email newsletter collection site. We got 20 million email addresses. Then we did greeting cards. That took off really well. And then we followed it up with this site, grab.com, where I was interviewed about how we offered the world's first $1 billion jackpot. I just kept ratcheting it up and ratcheting it up. And then I got burned out, to be honest with you, because Jesse, I tend to get myself to a place where how far can I go until I collapse? And I'm working on not getting to that. And I just took time off after selling the site. And then what I did was I created the thing that many of you probably know me for. How many of you heard my interviews? I started interviewing other entrepreneurs and telling their stories because I wanted to do for the world what my dad did for me, which is say, you could be an entrepreneur too. You could build like these guys. And so most of these people were funded entrepreneurs like the founders of Airbnb and a HubSpot and Dropbox. And most of them were hackers. Like they would just, Jesse, no joke. One of them came to my office in San Francisco and told me how, even though he'd raised millions of dollars, he figured out a way to hack eating free lunch from all the startups in San Francisco every meal. This is the mindset they had. Meanwhile, on the other hand, there was this guy who I interviewed, Jesse Pooji. And he had a different approach, very McKinsey background, very much about like, how do we structure things in a way that makes sense? How do we keep things in a rational way? How do we not get carried away with what's going on in the venture community and just build something that makes sense? And I'd interviewed him because if he wasn't the first person to figure out Facebook ads, he was one of the first, and he built this huge agency. And what was interesting about the agency is most people who build agencies just get sucked into the work all the time. I wonder how many of you can relate to me when I'm talking about this. You take on a client, you do the work for the client, you hire people, but you do the work with the people, you keep on going, then you lose the client and you go out and you get another client. And it's just over and over and over that whole process. And Jesse didn't. He was able to build a real business. In fact, so big and so self-sustaining that he sold the company. And then after he sold the company, he launched this company that you see at the top of your screen. It's called Gateway X, which launched multiple companies, as you see below. And I said, Jesse, what do they have in common? What are you doing? You're doing an unbloat like supplement, and then you're doing growth assistant, where you've got all these people who are doing growth work internationally, and you've got Ox for private equity service. Well, what do they have in common? And he goes, what they do is they all teach. They're all teaching the things that work for me in Ampush, and that's how I'm building it up. I now teach these people. They go do the things that I used to do, and they build it up. I said, how? And he showed me this. This is a spreadsheet that was going around his companies with like step by step how to get a meeting, step by step how to close, and people were actually using it. And Jesse says to me, Andrew, let's get together and teach us outside to other people like Dimple, who's in the audience, Muhammad, David, who's listening to us, Ryan, Juliet, Jeremiah, and this dream is happening. We started with Amizue's.
I think it was you, Andrew, who said it actually, not me. I was like, this is a cool thing. This is how I get meetings for my companies and sales, and your head exploded, and I didn't know it was anything special.
My idea was you should sell it. Your idea was if we should teach this, if we should sell it, if we should get it out, then let's do it together. And the combination of, "Hey, you should do it," and then, "Yeah, we should do it together," is what led to this and what led to us here sitting with all of you here today. And that's what we're gonna show you. We're gonna show you one aspect of Jesse's process, which is how to close a sale in 30 minutes. Those of you who came in a little early heard me riffing with Siobhan. Siobhan has a way of getting customers. I'm curious from you, how many meetings do you have? Jesse will ask you how many meetings do you have a week, how many meetings do you have a day in his company Slack, but comment your answer. How many meetings did you have in January with potential customers? One of the things that we do in the accelerator is we work with you to get you more meetings. So Christy's got 1 a week. Dimple has got 6 in January. Isa has got 3 to 4 a week. Jesse, that's impressive, right? 3 to 4 a
It's a
week.
great starting place. Yeah, it's a great starting place.
David's got 30. Is that impressive? Depending on what he's selling, right?
For a month, yeah. I mean, I think it all depends on the product cost value conversion rate, as you know.
Yeah. You got a Jesse, apparently you gave Philip a pep talk. I'm seeing that in the chat. Give you an example of how this process is done before we teach it and how I used it, and because I learned it the way that you did. I've sold in the past, but I wanna keep getting better. And so when I wanted to close this company, ZoomInfo, multi-billion-dollar company, I said, "If we can close ZoomInfo and get them as a sponsor of our newsletter, then we can generate revenue, and they're also a blue chip company that signals to other sponsors you can trust this company, this newsletter." And so we did a meeting with them. And Jesse, I don't know if you remember this, but I prepared a bunch of slides and I walked them through like what we'd done for other people and what we could do for them. And at the end, I get a call from Jesse. Jesse, you're one of the few people. It's because you're not, I don't know, you're not in your 20s. You actually call. You called me afterwards. You go, "Hey, good meeting." Do you remember this, by the way? You don't.
I
You
don't
called
know.
you called me up afterwards and you go, good meeting, but next time, how much time do you spend on the slides?" I'm like, 2 hours. I put in the prep time and go, "Next time, maybe just show your screen, do a demo." And I said to you, "Jesse, what if they see something embarrassing?" This is literally what's on my screen if I don't hit the button to hide it all. And you go, "Hide what's on your screen that's embarrassing. It's more authentic to show the thing and just show them." And I kid you not, every single time I've talked to customers afterwards, I've shown it, and look, ZoomInfo became a sponsor because when I got on with them again, instead of showing them slides, I just showed them around. I said, "Here, this is what we've done for other sponsors. What do you wanna see?" They've asked me, I showed them, and that show don't tell keeps me from preparing 2 hours of slides, but also lets them see a more authentic thing. And it's one of the aspects of the sales process that you're gonna learn today. And if you take nothing else from this, show what you're selling, don't tell, and there are lots of ways to do it. If you take nothing else, you'll be able to close more sales. Jesse at Ampush went from 2 to 19 million back when I was interviewing him to 19 million in sales really quickly from using the technique that you're about to learn. He then had his salespeople at Growth Assistant, one of his companies, use it and grow sales systematically. One of the people who work for him at Ampush created a whole software package, and he's building a business around it to basically systemize this for other people. And then one of our members had actually read the newsletter where Jesse talked about what you're about to learn, started using it, and he got 2 sales and has continued to grow sales from there. This whole thing is something that Jesse has called the Mutual Intro Playbook. It will help you get warm leads and close sales consistently. In the last workshop, we showed you how to get leads. Today, we're going to show you how to close sales, and every one of you is going to be able to close more sales with this. It's all part of this full system that we teach in the Sales Accelerator, and I'll tell you about the B2B Sales Accelerator. If you're selling to businesses and you want to grow your sales, I'm going to show you how that's going to increase your sales guaranteed. And I don't take that guarantee lightly. All right, let me cue this up for you, Jesse. You always say, look, the meetings are that focal point. Everything that everyone does ends up in that meeting. And so if that's the point that determines the sale, that determines the win or loss, then the big question is, how do you get more of them? And I'm wondering now, how
Well,
have you
I think the starting point, Andrew, I think the starting point, as you know, that I really harp on is how many meetings are you getting? Because a lot of people, like people on the phone, I talk to $1 to $10 million revenue entrepreneurs running tech-enabled services, and, "Oh, my business is up and down. I can't, I don't have enough people, or the pendulum's swinging," which are all common issues. But I always go, and sometimes people talk about running into issues, not having enough time to serve their clients. I go, "How many meetings are you getting?" "Why are you asking me about that, Jesse? I don't get it. I'm busy with my work." I go, "Well, once go back to that funnel one real quick, Andrew. Once you have a certain set number of meetings every week, you always have more pipeline coming in, and you always have the ability to get more of it. And on the top end, there's a bunch of activities and things you can do to get more meetings. That could be social, that could be the mutual intro playbook, that could be cold email, whatever you want. And then on the downside, it's how many meetings of those can you close on a consistent basis and how long does it take to close? But oftentimes there's not enough focus on that number being consistent. And when the top of the funnel is not consistent, then that's what leads to the thrash in the bottom of the funnel. Or even in your services org where you hire too many people, then a couple clients churn and vice versa. So the meetings number is the one that I drill with anyone I work with. It's a way that you build a consistent business and a consistent pipeline. And so it's always the starting point for me.
And I'm wondering how many people had heard our previous session and use your technique to get meetings. And in fact, in general, how are you all getting your meetings? We're going to show you how to close them, but I'm curious, how are you getting meetings? You heard me talk with Siobhan before we got started, who said, I'm getting my meetings because I got a partnership and I'm hoping for a lot of referrals from people who work with me. Partnerships, cold outreach. Aditya, how's that working for you? Social media. Dimple, how's that working for you? All right, pound their emails until they say yes. Dimple saying not too well. All right, we got you on that too. We definitely have modules where we teach that. And in the accelerator, we will get you consistent leads, consistent meetings, and then we'll train you to close those. It's helpful for me to keep to see that. Keep putting those messages in. I have your email addresses and names from before we got started. You'll see that sometimes I will follow up with people, especially if I see that you say I'm having trouble with something, and you'll get an email and you go, wait, I didn't even know that Andrew could do that. Yes, Andrew can do it. Andrew's looking down here to look at the messages and up here to see Jesse and over here to see the signs, and I will do it all. And we'll get to talk and make sure that you close more sales. So Jesse, here's how I'd like us to work today. This is your basic outline for how a meeting should run. If you're all watching this, you might want to bring your attention here and screenshot this because this has a lot of the details on it that we'll be breaking down. And Jesse, I thought I can just walk with you through if this is
Yeah, let's go back
model.
one real quick. Let's go back one because it's a little overwhelming and I want to tee it up. So once you have a meeting with someone, especially if you got, for those who know the mutual intro playbook, which is a systematic way of creating those introductions, and you get someone who's a friend of a friend or a contact of a contact. So it's someone who you walk in and it's a warm conversation. Oftentimes you're taught to get in and do the hard sale and ask a bunch of discovery questions and okay, yeah, you got to figure all these things out. And I do it, very different than that. The number one thing that I'm trying to create and establish when I'm selling, especially when I want to sell quickly, is one word. It's trust. And that trust comes from a lot of places. It might come from the fact that we know a mutual person. It might come from the fact that I'm a content expert and I want to establish that as quickly as I can. It might come from just that, like, I'm a good person and I'm somebody that you may like or that you may want to know and keep going. But I spend a lot of time trying to establish that trust. The other big thing we talk about a lot in the accelerator is, especially for people who are senior or founders of their small business, you as that level of your company have a special hack that most people don't use, which is you've dedicated your life to the company. And so you're talking to someone maybe in a mid-level in another business, and you can say, "This is what I want to do with my life. I care so much about doing this well that this is what I've chosen to do with my life." And oftentimes people aren't using that sort of founder orientation enough. So the setup before we go into the details, Andrew, is you walk in, you want to build trust, you want to be very human, you want to be able to create a connection with a person on the other side. And some of my biggest and best deals in sales may have not gone a meeting that gone that well, but the person got off the phone and said, "Yeah, you know who else? You should talk to this person instead." Or it's someone that maybe a year later that turns into because they remember me, because there was trust built, because there was a relationship and a connection built. So that's kind of the point of this. Now you can go to the next one, Andrew. Sorry.
So
So I think it's really important to run a very tight meeting. Um, another thing we talk a lot about in the accelerator is uh, I don't know if we use the word control, but quarterbacking the meeting. So if
lead.
I were to start a meeting, lead the meeting, right? It's your job. Buyers, if you think about buying something, imagine walking to a car dealership and the car dealer is like, well, what do you want? What do you need? Okay, well, I don't know. Maybe this, maybe that. Like car dealers, they put you on tracks. They put you on rails, we call them. And it's really important to put someone on rails. People get anxiety when they don't know what's next. Everyone does. That's just a human thing. And so the more they know what's going to happen, the more you're able to basically like keep them calm, which then builds trust, right? So if we were to do this, Andrew, and do it together, I'd say, "Hey, Andrew, thanks so much for joining the call. Where are you?"
Austin.
"Oh, Austin, man, I love 6th Street. That is like one of my favorite streets. So thanks so much for joining the call. Is anyone else joining from your side?"
Nope, it's just me.
Okay, cool. Well, I'd love to get going here. I could maybe introduce myself, tell you my story, show you a little bit about what we've built and what we're working on. I would love to get to any questions you have, and then can share some different things we're working on, and if it makes sense, talk about what next steps are. That work?
Yeah.
So right up front, everyone should notice just a timeout is that like I've already sort of presented him something and got him to agree. And it's like, okay, this guy kind of knows what he's doing, right? Like he's owning the call, and I'm already with him. The next thing I'll always ask.
Before we go into it, because I'm going to break down every bit of this to make sure that we give you space for each one. What happens if they say, I also want to talk about something else, or they launch into their thing? They're no longer on your rails, and we clearly have this agenda we're going to follow. What happens if they say, well, actually, I want to start off with this one other, I want to start with my problem. I want to start with my need.
Sometimes I'll take a call with somebody super senior or some big dog, and I actually will flip it. I won't present it first. I'll go, what's really important to you? What would make this conversation a 10 out of 10 for you? And I'll collect their information first. Go, okay, so how about this for an agenda? You want to cover that topic? Let's cover that. Then we do this. Then we do this. Then we do this. I'm still leading. I'm still creating the rails, but I've incorporated it there. So depending on who the person is, or sometimes people interrupt. Sometimes people are like, "I'm busy. I don't give a shit about what you're about to tell me." You go, "Oh, so what matters then?" Like, so you want to stay in this position where you're kind of the maestro of the call.
Yeah.
Um,
And it is better, at least if they have this pressing thing, like they want to know a price or they want to know how fast they can solve that.
Absolutely. Well, and I
Better.
think you're kind of leading to the magic question, and everyone here,
So
this
this
is
is
your
your
first
first
lot of
part.
call. Go ahead.
Actually, Jesse, one thing. There's someone in the audience who is saying, why are you starting with me? And then do you give them an opportunity? How do you get them to talk about themselves, to go into a little bit of small talk for themselves? And then we'll get into magic question.
Yeah, I think I don't know, Andrew, if we've played with this. Sometimes it depends a little bit on what's going on, and again, remember my goal is to establish trust and credibility very quickly. So sometimes oftentimes I'll say, well, I'd love to hear about your story quickly, and then we can talk about my story. But if I think the person's skeptical, then I want to tell my story first, so that within a few minutes of the call, the person's like, okay, this person's not a dumbass. Like they're not someone who's going to waste my time. Because what do you think? I mean, everyone here has been sold to. What's your biggest fear when you jump on a call where someone's selling something to you? You're like, dude, this is going to waste my time. And what I want to do as quickly as I possibly can is get away from this thing of this person's going to waste my time. So I'll jump in oftentimes with my story first. Sometimes in between, it depends a little bit on the flow. I'll ask them to offer their story. So it's a little sort of it depends is the answer, right? And we sell to private equity guys, we sell to CMOs for growth assistant. Like sometimes it's a junior person or someone. I'm like, hey, why don't you tell me? I'd love to hear your story while get before we get going. I would love to hear how you joined the company and what matters to you. So it really depends. Even within a private equity firm, if I'm talking to a partner versus a VP, the senior person, I'm going to try to establish my trust and credibility quicker.
You were getting into the magic question. What can you talk about?
Well, I've been telling everyone, this is the one thing, if you take one thing away from this, and this is we love doing this because every time we do these workshops and we get like literally hundreds of people come back, go, oh my God, you guys changed the game for me with one thing, which is the first question I always ask, and I was going to do it in the role play with Andrew, is like, oh, so Andrew, what led you to take this meeting? And this question is magic because it gets the person to essentially start to sell your product to themselves, and you don't have to say anything. Right? So we talk to private equity people, and we'll say, so what led you to take this meeting with Ox? Like, why did you take this conversation? He goes, well, our portfolio has all these issues. We're always looking for someone to help us with marketing things. And Bob at Blackstone said good things about you. So we thought, why not? Let's take a call. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, you just told yourself why you're doing this for growth assistant. We're really busy. We need a lot of people. Our mid-level people are too busy with bullshit work, and we need someone to help take that off their plate. Oh, okay, great. Like, so the other thing it does is it really lets you learn about the person. So in addition to trust building, my second goal is to learn as much as I can about what's going on. And that's kind of discovery, but it's a little bit different. Sometimes they come in and they go, I don't know. I didn't even know I had this call this morning. Bill told me you're a good dude and I should talk to you, but I don't really know. And you go, oh, okay. And you kind of know what you're walking into. So that's like the downside is they don't give you the positive answer. They give you some other answer, but it lets you know what you're dealing with and what you're walking into. And it's not, I wouldn't necessarily react to the answer in the beginning. I would store the answer in your head and adjust the rest of the script as you go. So, because sometimes this has happened to me. Someone's like, "What led you to text me?" I'm like, "I don't know. I didn't even know you were on the call." Person's like, "Oh, well, are you having problem with your copier paper?" And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! I don't like stop. I don't want that." Right? But it's a good thing to store it in your mind as to what their answer is, and then try to weave into it. I don't know why I took this meeting, or I took it as a friend. All right, cool. Well, hopefully I can not embarrass your like our mutual friend, or hopefully I can make it worth your time, or something like that. Let me introduce myself and tell you about me and then show you what we're working on, and I'd love to kinda get your input on what's happening here. So you wanna be able to calibrate to how that person responds.
Jesse, I'm smiling because in our audience is Janak Mehta, who I was speaking with yesterday, and literally the first question I asked is, "What led you to take this meeting?" And I'm asking him if he'll unmute, but he might be in a spot where he can't do it. And I don't wanna talk about the issues that he had, but I will say it allowed him to bring up the issues that he had, and so we had a substantive conversation about that. It was super powerful. Yeah, what led you to take this meeting? They will say, I'm doing a lot of cold emails. It's not working. I've tried hiring someone. They didn't know what they were doing. We couldn't integrate it. I sell, but I can't continue to do the selling myself. And so I wanted to talk to you about how I can join the B2B sales accelerator. And boom, right from the beginning, I know their need. I could talk about it. It's incredibly effective. Try it, folks. Try it.
I think I'm back. Sorry, I had an internet issue.
All right. All good. All right. So next is stories. You were starting to say this. You go into a little bit of your backstory. You ask them for their story. Why stories? As
Yeah, this is something, Andrew, you got for everyone, we drill this in the accelerator. I mean, there was entire hours where people were telling me their stories and we were workshopping their stories. And there's a couple of really important things here. Again, if you're a founder or C-level executive at your company, like you have committed your life to the company and it's a one-to-one for you, and people should care about that, and you should care about that and wanna present it. I think the other thing to remember is people don't buy things from businesses. Businesses never buy things from businesses. People buy things from people. And so if you don't establish yourself as a human first, and then establish some credibility in your story and really start to draw in interest, then you've immediately lost the person, right? And I like again, I'm weird. You get on a phone call with me and you start asking me discovery questions, like I am not interested in telling you anything. And I want to know who the hell you are first. I want to know why I should share my information with you. And I want you to know, I want to know I'm not wasting my time. And so the story is your chance to basically create an emotional connection with the person and to be authentic and real about who you are. And Andrew, you'll have heard my story. The story also, by the way, it should end or it should lead like any good story. It should be, there should be some tension in it. And it should ultimately lead into why you're doing what you're doing in that moment. Right, so why are we here today? What led me to that? And so oftentimes it's something like, um, for growth assistant, my story oftentimes is, "Hey, I'm Jesse. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started my first company, Ampush, in 2010. We were one of the largest Facebook ad, first pioneers of Facebook ad, large scale customer acquisition, working with Uber, Dollar Shave Club, Peloton. One of the cool things we did is we had a big offshore team, and our US team got to focus on more strategic things. And after I sold the company, I started investing in a bunch of D2C startups, and I would go meet with their marketing organizations and felt like they were moving really slow. And I was wondering why that was, and then I realized they were missing the global team. They didn't have an offshore team. So I asked them, "Is there anything like that out there?" And I kept hearing no. And I thought, well, maybe I should start that. And so then I partnered with my best friend from middle school. She's in recruiting and HR, and we launched this company. And now we have 10, 20 customers, and they're all seeing the benefits of this, blah, 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 blah. But you could see like that was like wasn't a long story, by the way. But now everyone's like, damn, like, okay, I know this guy who he is. Dropped a couple logos in my name, and then he told me why this company got started. And in telling the story, I also talked about the customer problem. And I have a few variations of that story, Andrew. You probably never heard that one.
I
As
have
the
I have one that I'm going to share in a moment to have you break down a little bit. But yes,
That one I talk about companies I invested in, and I noticed they were unproductive, and it's like a way of me not dissing anybody by but also saying, like, if you don't have this, your team's probably not as productive as they could be. There's another variation where I talk about former Ampush employees who went to go work inside of these brands and called me asking for this capability. The problem gets presented in the story, and this is not a I obviously am a good public speaker. I public spoke since I was in high school, but it's not like I'm not faking it. This is authentic. It's real. It's the actual
Well,
story.
basically what you're doing is you're saying, "I need them to know the why of working with us, the why they should care about me, of what we've done for others." And instead of listing out bullet points, you structure it in the form of a story that makes them care about you, makes it all memorable, makes them feel the thing. And it's not that hard. Like you, as I've said, we took an audio recording of one of the times that you said it, and we then turned it into this guide in the accelerator to allow other people to do this. And if you're watching us and you'd like a copy of these slides later on so that you can use this, let me know at the end. But why is it? This is the way that we broke it down. We noticed that you will often say, I grew up in St. Louis. Why do you tell people where you grew up in a story about why they should work with your company?
Um, I like to I want them to know who I am and why I am this. I mean, in the case, this is the Gateway X story, right? And the Gateway X story ends with me saying, I like to teach other entrepreneurs and I like to build companies, right? That's like so say I'm pitching a CEO to join as a founder with me, right? And a new venture. Well, where I'm from, my mom is a teacher, my dad is an entrepreneur. It's like it's so clear to where I'm going to circle back at the end of the story and go, well, that's what I do today. I'm an entrepreneur and a teacher. I'm going to teach you how to build a business, and I'm going to be an entrepreneur here. And so it creates an arc in a story that people resonate with, and it's authentic. It's real. I also love St. Louis, so I'm very proud of the city. I think it's a not that well known city, and it's part of my authentic story. It may or may not be a part of other people's authentic stories, right? And it's not this is not also yeah, you started with yours today. You did this, right? And everyone who's listening now reflect on it. Go, shit, Andrew totally did this, and he got us. See, we were all hooked from the beginning. I haven't ever heard that story, by the way, and it was a great story. And you got us all really involved in storytelling the whole week in the module or week plus, I think. And the other big thing here, and this is we're gonna sell the accelerator in a second, but practicing this stuff with a group of people is how you get good at it. When I was starting my first company,
Yeah.
I had co-founders, I had other friends working on ventures, and we would fucking practice. Hey, what do you think about this? I don't like that sentence. That one is kind of it's slowing you down. It's not getting you to the point. Oh, too much detail. Like these things are not, we make it look easy, but this is not it's a thing you get good at and you get practice at.
And I noticed you do this a lot with friends, with family, but in the accelerator, yes, we get people into one-on-one sessions. And when you're telling your story in 3 minutes and it drags, you can see it in the other person's face and you can't doubt it. All right. You also have said, Jesse, in the accelerator, even a button can tell a story. How can a button tell a story?
Yeah, I mean, we were giving this example of we have these demo stems that we teach everyone. And I have a very specific way of demoing, and again, demoing should be a
We're going to get
story.
into the demo in a bit too. Uh-huh.
Oh, we are? Okay. So you show the screen and you kinda go, "Well, here's my product, and, this button does this, and this button does this." Like, that's pretty boring to someone. They wanna hear a narrative. They wanna hear how that thing gets done. But this is a fun example I give of you show a screen. I don't know if do you have a screen here, Andrew? Anyway, we have a screen, and there's a button that says, "Optimize," right? And it's a red button on the top right of the screen. Now you can go, okay, this is the button that says optimize. Nobody cares about that, right? But instead you go, oh my God, my favorite feature on our dashboard is this one thing. And man, we debated this thing for weeks. And we first had it on the left, and then we had it on the right. Then we decided we not even have the button, but we realized that customers need the button because it's the thing that calculates all their data. And here it is. That's what this red optimize button does. And that's why we think it's so important because of X, Y, and Z. And we've heard the following feedback from clients A, B, and C. And all of a sudden, some boring ass button has a story and people care, and there's an attachment to it that's really, really
Yeah.
important.
And you're gonna hear that from Jesse a lot and from me a lot. The more you tell your story, the more people will remember the points that you have to tell. All right. Now, show don't tell is something that I talked about earlier. And again, in the accelerator, what we have is this tool that people use to help them demo their product properly. We walk you through step by step, and you'll have a demo that will make it feel like a story, show your features, and just like Jesse showed with the button, communicate why they should care about the things that you're showing them. We have a few demo stems. What's some advice that how would people use the demo stems? And then what's some advice that you have for how to do a demo well and not make it boring and clunky?
Yeah, so demos are really risky. And I developed this in my first company, Ampush, because I had a bunch of young people, and the variance and how they would present something that was interesting tech or capabilities would be crazy. Some people would go, "Yeah, our engineering team built this, and we think it's really cool. We use it." And some people would say other things. And so I said, "Well, you got to keep someone hooked on a demo, right?" And I mean, the easiest thing for me is let's pretend everybody's a growth assistant customer for a second, right? And I'll just demo something for
Do you want me
everyone.
to stop my
So,
screen share so you can do your demo?
um, can you see my screen?
Here, I'll stop my share to make sure my screen so everyone can see it. Can you all see it?
I don't remember all the stems, but let's just say I'll go into someone. Yeah, I'm talking to another founder in an e-commerce business, and I'll say something like, "So, I should pull up the stem. Can you pull up the stems, Andrew?
Yes. Here, I'll share it right now.
My Slack is acting funny. It's not letting
I
me."
can see that. All good.
Anyway, the what I'll often say is I'll say I'll do it without the hardware. I'd say something like, "So the problem we're trying to solve here is oftentimes your day-to-day team gets bogged down in important tasks that are needed, but are just not fun or energized. So growth assistant solves that problem. Look, here's an example of in one of my brands, a growth assistant actually providing a report. So what you see here is a report she posts daily. She pulls data from all the platforms and puts it in this report. Why this is important is it takes the job off the day-to-day person's plate, but we still get all the information we need to be able to run the business. Here's a cool example of this. We used it with such and such client, and they were able to save tons of costs, and their teammates got 5 more initiatives off the ground because they ran it. I'm forgetting the stems, Andrew.
To me, the stems are on the screen, but to me, the part that's really effective about it is, yes, you're walking me through this process, and everyone who can see this can take a screenshot of our stems so that you can use it to guide you. But you're actually showing the Slack interaction that you have with your growth assistant. And the fact that there's a little bit of something that I could pick up on that I'm not supposed to makes it feel more real. The fact that I can see what you see makes me see that this is really a tool that you personally are using. And I've seen you do that demo, and that's really compelling.
I don't see the presentation, by the way, Andrew.
Oh, you don't? Okay, you might have to
Just
tap the screen on top right, like over in the meeting, next to the top 3 buttons, where it says meeting, and then you should see my screen. Can you all see my screen? I can stop sharing and then share it again. Let's do that. Yeah, they could see it. It's, Zoom just made a change that kinda hid it. But you know what? If it's being hidden on your screen, it's probably being hidden on other people's screens. I'm gonna share it one more time. And how is that, everyone? Can you see it now?
yeah, so a couple other things on this. Number 7 is number 7 and 8 are important, but 7 is why is this important? Like, what money did this make for someone else? And why did it what was the impact that it had on somebody else? So, and arguably, I would tell you when people do demos, they get too stuck on number 6, they get too stuck on number 4. And the truth about 4 and 6 is no one gives a shit about 4 and 6. 4 and 6 is like, "Oh, we use such and such AI technology or whatever." That's cool. You should mention it. It's cool to mention it in process, but nobody actually cares. What they really care about is 7. And then 8 is just another way to keep people excited, but 7, you could argue if you could only do one thing here, you just go, "Hey, this thing, here's what it is, and here's what it did for someone else. Here's the money it drove for them or the impact it drove for them."
That's a good one actually for me to make
Now
sure to say.
typically yeah, go to the next one, Andrew.
The next slide, I'm gonna walk into the questions.
Yeah, so well, typically when you're doing this well, one of the easiest pieces of feedback you'll get is they'll start to engage naturally.
Yeah.
Right. So for Aux, we put up example presentations we've done for other clients because it's a consulting business, and they'll immediately go, "Oh, well, how do you know that information? Or what do you do? What did you guys do in that situation? Or what happens when the client doesn't share the data?" And all of a sudden, you could tell that that's the key hook that this has gone well. That you build credibility with your story, and then you've shown them something that's of value. And by the way, you're not even 15 minutes into the call at this point.
I love when they say, "And can you show me this other thing?" And I go, yeah, as a matter of fact, here. And now I know what you care about and I know how to make this useful for you. All right. You know what? I like to do just a quick poll. I want to know, yes or no, do you do demos in your meetings? Are you doing demos in your meetings right now? All right. And I'm going to close this out. And oh, I see people are still coming in. 3, 2, 1. And I'll share results. All right. So it's about 50-50 are doing it. Here's the next thing. I'm curious about, has this way of doing demo helped you? Will you integrate any of what you've learned from these demos into the way that you're going to do your own demos? Whether you've done them before or not, have you picked up on one or two things that you can use? Have you picked up on a technique like telling them, here's the feature and the story behind it? Have you picked up on, and I'll share the results, why this is important to them? Yeah, so I'm glad to see it, 93%. And those of you who are in the 7%, just keep asking questions. I'm going to keep directing the conversation to things that makes this even more useful for you. All right, next is their questions. The questions back and forth that you say a lot. Um, One of the things that I struggle with, Jesse, is when someone asks me for something I don't have, or at least I did before. And here's an example of something that you would get asked at Growth Assistant. Do you have a personal assistant I could hire? And you say, no, we chose to focus on marketing. That's our differentiated offering. We do have people who help marketing teams with administrative tasks. Here's an example. What are you doing in that I should be picking up on? What's the technique there?
Well, the first thing, and there's an entire week we spent an accelerator on mindset. And the first question is, if this is true at your business, and this is true for Growth Assistant, what would cause me to not to say yes to a question where I should say no? Typically, it's because you feel some fear, got someone on the line,
I don't want to lose a sale.
and you don't want to lose a sale. You want to make the sale, right? You're an entrepreneur. You've committed your life to this. It's scary, and a lot of entrepreneurs frankly hurt themselves in their businesses. This is another common reason people get stuck and plateau at certain revenue levels is, holy shit, they've sold 20 different things to 20 different clients. And one of the key things for any good services business that scales is it starts to have a consistent set of scope and set of work that can get done. But the founders are the ones who ruin that because they don't say no to prospects. So the first thing is to recognize, oh, I really want to close this deal.
Yeah.
And this kind of goes back to something we talked at the top of the meeting, which is meetings are the really important metric. If you have 5 meetings a month, then yeah, you feel a lot of pressure to close a deal. If you constantly have a system for getting more and more meetings, you're really looking for the right fit. You're not necessarily looking to close every deal that gets on the phone. And so for me, it's oftentimes I want to be authentic and I want to be real and build trust. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they have like sometimes people pitch me on an investment, I'll ask questions and they've got a pre-planned answer for everything I say. And it makes me trust them less because they're spinning me constantly versus them go, oh, that's an interesting question, Jesse. I don't know the answer to that question. What would you do? How would you approach that? And all of a sudden I'm going, oh, this person, they're listening and they build trust for it. So for me, what I'm doing is I'm being honest about the business. And by the way, sometimes they'll go, well, I don't care. I still want to work with you guys and get this. And I'm like, okay, well, I've sort of said to you that that's not what we do, but I'm sure we could help still figure that out. So it's, there's other things going on here, like knowing your ICP, knowing who your customer base is and knowing your offer, which obviously we teach in the accelerator. But the thing that holds most businesses back is they don't have tightly defined customer bases and scopes. And once you have those two things well defined, then the business starts to take off.
One thing that I've noticed about you is that you use something that you call the McKinsey answer, the McKinsey way of giving an answer. And it's like you said, Andrew, give them a clear yes or no. Don't drag it out and give explanations and then come back to the answer. Just be really clear, then give the reasons for why you made that decision, and then give evidence for why you think that makes sense. Fair?
Yeah, well, ask me a question, Andrew, about the accelerator.
So in the accelerator, what I'd like to do is I hired a virtual assistant and I'd like the virtual assistant to do sales for us. I think she's smart enough that she could level herself up. Can I get the virtual
Oh, I
type
guess
sign up?
that's a good idea. I could see that. Yeah, I could see why you'd want to do that. Huh, let me think more about that. We want to make sure everyone's got what the things they've got and they can do it well. Like most people answer questions like that. They sort of meander around and instead of saying, Andrew, that's probably not going to work well for us. Listen, we want to make sure this is a tight group of founders who are working closely together and there's a lot of chemistry between them so that they can learn during the accelerator and after the accelerator. So we're happy to give you materials and other things to give EAs. We even have a playbook for trainings to other people in the team, but we're not going to let the EA join.
At my best, I do that, and I know, Jesse, that's the way that people respect, and I see them nod and go, "Yes, I like this." They feel the strength that comes from saying no, and this is the point of view I have, and I still sometimes find myself doing the opposite, going, "Well, I could see why you'd wanna do it. We've had several people wanna do it, and they've even offered to bring us mon" and I go, I know this is not good. I'm humming my way through the answer. And yeah, I totally get where the mindset comes from. And the more I hear it, the more I see other people do it, the more I talk about it, the better I get at staying clear on the answer. Here's the other two things that I've noticed you do. You'll ask a clarifying question and you'll repeat the question. Why do you do that when there's an answer you can't?
Yeah, this is another, again, Jesse's sort of anti-sales sales playbook, right? Is that typically someone goes, if Andrew, give me an objection, Andrew.
A growth assistant. I think I need somebody right here in the US. Like I need an American here. Well,
Thank you.
because I need someone who speaks English really well, and I want someone who's on my hours. I'm not looking to be up at night.
Gotcha. So it's important that they're on your hours and that they speak good English.
Yeah,
Is it
and all they're doing is answering email is
that matters about the person?
that they're smart, that they actually can
That they're
respond to
smart.
things properly, not just have English well.
And I mean, you're on the call, so have you found that person in the US? Have you been able to find them?
No, they're too expensive.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so look, we can get the person to work your hours and we can they'll speak great English. Like, so you guys see what I just did there, right? Like typically it's like, "Oh, objection handling. Oh, I can see now, Andrew, why you might have that concern, but let me tell you, Growth Assistant is the best and we're going to do the same hours." It comes across inauthentic, and I look at objections as opportunities for curiosity to better understand and learn that person. And then repeating the question is just, it's really important people feel heard. And oftentimes when you're selling, you do the opposite. These are all parts of building trust and learning and curiosity.
One of the things that I've noticed myself repeating is this, like, I will jump in with the answer because 'cause I've got it, I thought about it, I'm such and, the thing that helps is I take transcripts of all my meetings, and where I think I've goofed up, I will look at it and see judge myself really, is this the way I wanna be? And sometimes I'll show it to someone else, just the one paragraph or 2 and go, "What do you think of how I did there?" And then I'll get feedback and go, "This is the same thing." You keep coming in with the answer instead of asking. Alright, we've got a lot to cover in a very short period of time. Let's go into discovery. This is the place where you now, Jesse, are asking them questions, right?
Yeah, so if they've started asking you questions, at some point, again, in your 30-minute call, you're sort of 20 minutes in, you've asked some questions they're interested. Say like, have you guys ever done anything like this before? Is this, and I like to start very high level. And again, there's a million frameworks out there we could share and people know probably, but I like to know kind of high level, then drill down. The other thing I like to spend a lot of time on is some of the logistical questions. Um, how does the timing work for this? How does your organization buy this? It depends a little bit on who you're selling into, bigger versus smaller. But I also like to know what game I'm playing and how things stand in different areas, right? Even in like a recruiting context, I might go, "Oh, are you in the market? Are you looking for a job, or are you having another conversation?" So in a sales context, I'm like, "Is this something you guys are looking for? Is this a burning problem right now, or is it something that you're just interested to learn more about?" Because I'm always trying to assess. Some of the things we talk about in the accelerator is, again, data and information is important. If someone goes, "Yeah, I'm fine right now. I like this concept of global talent, but I don't need it." There are 5 other calls I'm gonna take that the person's like, "Dude, I'm dying. I need a person." And so after the call, I don't wanna push on the person who goes, "This is cool. I don't need it tomorrow." I wanna push on the people who need it, and I have to prioritize my time to be able to maximize my sales. So part of what you're trying to do is learn, not just, you're not trying to close them with these, you're trying to learn about their issues, and you're also trying to assess kind of how likely they are to close and what it looks like to close that.
I've got a few discovery questions from the company's Ox, which works with private equity. This is an example of a question that you've asked. Have you ever used consultants for marketing before? And this is you trying to see, are they the kinds of customers who buy the service that we offer? Growth Assistant, when and how do you use consultants? Do you use global talent? It's all these types of discovery questions that really help you. And a lot of us are not closing immediately, as we'll get to. It might be a follow up, and these help you understand how to come back and follow up properly. All right, this is what it's all been building towards in a way, right? The close. And one thing that you articulated in the accelerator is that we've got sometimes it's one call, sometimes it's multiple calls.
Yeah, I mean, we have two extreme examples here. Ox, the consulting business for private equity versus Growth Assistant. We close lots of sales in one deal with Growth Assistant. It's one or two heads, $5,000, $6,000 a month. It's very straightforward. And the ask is if they're ready to go and they have a problem, we go, great. All we need is a credit card and we'll start the search and you'll have your person within 2 weeks. How does that sound? Or does that work for you? Or let's do it. And we'll close it. Oftentimes I tell entrepreneurs, you gotta first design the close. In Aux, there's no such thing. I mean, sometimes we've closed one or two because they're inbound and they have a deal on the table and they need our help. But more often than not, the close is, hey, why don't we look at two of the companies in your portfolio and come back to you in a week and we'll tell you a bunch of stuff about them that you probably don't know that can help us assess marketing. Why don't you give us two names and we'll go do that? And that's a very specific ask with a very specific close that they say yes to. We say, okay, why don't we meet at the same time next week? Okay, oh, look at your calendars, it's open, meeting booked, close done. And on that meeting, then we have another close objective essentially. And so even if you have 3 meetings to get a deal done, each one has a close objective that you want to create that will move the sale process forward or stop it, which is totally great. Like the other reason you want to close, people that get to the end of the call, they go, well, good, nice to meet you. Well, I will talk to you later. Now you have no idea what to do. So I like to put a little tension on the line. I go, oh, okay, cool. So what's the next step? Like, I think this is what we typically do next. Does that work for you? No, I'm not that interested actually. Or no, sometimes they'll say, no, let me talk to my boss. Let me talk to so and so. Okay, what's what's the conversation? Like, do you want to do it? And it just creates an opportunity for you to learn more and get more information. And if you don't
That.
push it a little bit more, then you're not going to get that.
I like that. The I'm gonna talk to my boss usually with me results in, okay, when will you talk? And let's schedule a follow-up call so that we can talk about what they said. But what's the conversation like? Are you talking to them about saying yes? Are you looking for more information? All right. I love this. I hear this all the time and I keep learning more things. So here's one that I've copied from you in the past. Based on what you told me, here's what I would do because they're telling you their problem and what they need and why they got on the call. They're asking questions and they're looking around. And now you say, based on all of that, here's the offer. How does that sound? And for a multi
And one thing just to be clear on, there will be situations where I will say, based on what you told me, I don't think you're a good fit for Growth Assistant. So this is not it's meant to be. If you don't do it authentically, then people can smell it out and it's not gonna work.
Also, the thing that I learned by talking to real salespeople and not the ones you see on television is real salespeople will say very clearly, "You're not the right fit," and move on. Bad salespeople on TV just keep pushing, but you can't get somebody to buy a thing that they don't want. We're not like timeshare salesmen. Very few of us are in a space where we're going to jam our thing. We're talking to smart people. All right, multi-call, it's you give them the clear next steps, you book the next meeting. All right. Now, the next question, Jesse, that people will come back to us with is it's a set of questions. And that is, but wait, Jesse, how do I get meetings? And what happens if my offer isn't good enough? This is a big one. People are like, I'm in the wrong business, I think. What happened? What happens? I understand it's a natural question. Or how do I nail down my ICP? I'm selling to this person and that person. I know it doesn't make sense. How do I figure out who the right person to do this with? And so if you're in that situation, we've got a way for you to do it. You know, I told you in the beginning of the session that Jesse has all these different scripts that, yes, I'm the one who said, Jesse, you should find ways to make this available beyond your companies. You do use these in your companies. And once we partnered up together, one of the first things that I did was I hired somebody to go and pull all these guides together that Jesse has internally and recordings of Jesse's sales meeting and recordings of someone else's meeting. And we sold it in a blueprint, a collection of guides, and people bought it. And then here's why I did it. I wanted to find out afterwards. Anyone who saw it, they got this video of me saying, I'm trying to figure out what we should be doing to teach you more. And so you saw that video, and on the bottom, I said, get on a call with me, but first submit $100 to make sure that it's a really serious call. And I got dozens of people who signed up. I was able to get on 43 deep calls with super smart, successful entrepreneurs who built a business, but were plateauing and had some clear problems. And I wanted to find out what their problem was. And Jesse, you know this because when we were getting started together, we went and talked to friends and we said to them, Rachel, can you send Billy a link? I think Billy is eager. I've been hearing you, Billy. I see some people are really eager to get started here. I'll tell you how to work with us in a moment. But here's what our advisors told us. They said, look, you need to create a mastermind for Jesse. Like, get him in with 5 to 8 people, let him give his advice, answer their questions, guide them, charge $40,000 to $50,000, make it as similar to what Jesse has at Gateway X with the CEOs who work for him, who come to him and say, we're plateauing in sales. What do you do to help us? And Jesse helps them. And sure enough, we did that. We actually, here's the exact price. We're charging $48,000 a year. And we do have what do we have? 7, 8 people who are doing this, who are paying this in order to work directly with Jesse. I understand, though, that it's not perfect for everybody. I understand that not everyone is at that level. So there's another way for you to work with us. And there's a way that I think if you are growing sales, you're plateauing, you want to implement a system. Here's what I learned from people like you in those calls that I mentioned. Jesse, they said to me, I've got sales, but I don't have a process. So I'm kind of doing my thing, selling the way that I learned ever since I was a kid, selling lawnmower services or whatever. They said, I do my own sales, which I'm very proud of, but it means that I can't delegate. I don't know how to do that. They said, I hold others accountable at the company, make sure that everyone gets their stuff done. Jesse, some of them would even say, I hold my wife accountable. I hold my husband accountable. My brother, I check in with him. They're holding everyone accountable. They said, no one's there to make sure that there's time on my calendar to get the things done that are important to me. They wanted accountability. They said, I grew my company and I'm proud of it, but I'm also feeling really stuck and plateaued. And it's really frustrating to get to that place where you just can't climb up. They said, I guide everyone else, but when I'm stuck, when I need help, there's no one to guide me. And so I said, I understand this. I wonder how many of you are relating to this. I said to you, what's your 10 out of 10 to those of you who I talked with? And you said, here's what I would really like. I want 6 weeks of working with Jesse. Give me like an intense sessions with Jesse. I want to focus on sales. Yes, I want the rest of the package and I want to learn, but I need a deep focus on sales because I'm the kind of person, when I set my mind to something, they told me I could get it done. They said, it's not just about learning. I want to do the sales. And you're going to see what that means in a moment. Jesse teaches every step of the process via Zoom. And then they said, I want the same access that his CEOs have. Let me get into Slack. Don't put me into some kind of learning app. I want to get directly in and work with him. They said, I want clear sales assignments. Just show me what to do every month so that I can come back and get some progress. They said they wanted to be kept accountable. They said they wanted in between calls to be in the company Slack. And at the end, they wanted a playbook so that they could hire people and say, this is how we do sales in my company. Let's build the sales organization together. And so from that, we built a sales accelerator. And there are a few things that I want you all to notice if you're interested in joining this, like Billy, not, thanks, Billy, for jumping in. I'm glad we're going to be working with you. A few things that I want you to notice. You are actually selling in the accelerator. This is not 6 weeks of sitting back and learning from Jesse. You're actually going to be selling in the
So I
accelerator.
think we probably closed probably around 20K in MRR like during the program. Most of that happening toward the last like the 5th or 6th week, I would say. And it came from 2 places. So one is I had a much larger like 2nd and 3rd degree like surface area on LinkedIn with people in my ICP than I thought. And I don't think I would have discovered that had I not done the accelerator with you, with Jeff. I think the other thing is that sort of like there's so many people in the accelerator who are also doing really cool things. So several of our booked calls that turned into customers. Actually, our biggest deal was with a company called Red Ventures, which came not from Jesse, not from somebody that I knew in my LinkedIn network. It actually came from a guy, Chris Snyder, who runs a company called banks.com. Amazing domain, and happened to be in the color.
Yeah. He closed the sale during the accelerator by realizing network connections that he didn't know he had, which is what we work with you to do. He actually got a close. And because we really curate the membership, you're going to be in a room with people like he said, Chris Snyder from banks.com, who can make introductions to you to other customers. And we'll hold you accountable. I'm not here to shame you, but I am here to keep track of how you're doing. And this is how I do it. I have this spreadsheet on my screen that shows me where your sales are. And I can see if you're not making enough sales, I can get on a call with you and or making enough requests for intros to customers. I'll get on a call with you and help you get to those requests. If you're not closing enough, we might listen to the recordings that you give us or read parts of the transcripts and work with you so that you can move ahead. We watch you every step of the way. The way if you work for Jesse, if you work with me, I would do that. And at the end, like I said, you build a playbook, a real process so you know and the people you hire know exactly how to do this. Sally's asking how many people in the accelerator. I'm aiming for 50 people in the accelerator so that we can work directly with you. I know what my calendar looks like and the team that we have. I want to be available to you by text. As soon as you join, I want you to be able to text me, and I can handle only so many people. So here's the playbook.
We've been in business for about 7 years, and I've failed about 4 times to get our sales process right, and that's from hiring SDRs, director of sales, spreading it out across the leadership team, working with outsourced sales and marketing people. So I've spent a lot of money getting it wrong. And then the second thing is I've spent a lot of money on sales courses ranging from, a few $100s to $30,000, if you can believe it, and still not getting the value that I was looking for. And out of all of those, this by far, the Sales Accelerator has brought the most value to us as an organization. And I think the biggest reason for that is the structure of it, and the accountability, and then also the process. So now I feel like I have a good process on how to execute my sales motion.
And by the way, I hate when people say, Jesse, this is a testimonial from Steve X. No, I'm going to give you names, and I know our people. Our people will find these guys and these women on LinkedIn, and they will message them. So I'm going to give you their names, and you probably even know them. That's Nicholas Mann from Stratos Consulting. Before it was Nathan May from the Feed Media. And I will even get you on calls with our graduates if you need to. I want you to see this works. We will do this with you is why I know that this works.
I remember there was one specific instance where I was like, this person was excited, but now they're not replying to my emails. And I think it was Jesse or Nat or someone who was like, just reply with this. And I'm not joking. I got a response within 2 minutes. And in terms of, again, I'd say as someone who, the sales process and overthinking this is still something I struggle with. I'm not.
Yeah. So that, by the way, is Ben Fisher from Rodeo. And you were asking Sally, I think it was in the chat, was saying how much access. There's the example of how much access you'll get to Jesse. And it's not just Jesse. Snack, it's me. Here's another person. Here's
I'm
Leo.
Aram Chandani. I run Suite Solvers, which is a boutique consulting firm that focuses on clients running NetSuite. I'm loving the program. I think the most underrated part of this program is the fact that you can just reach out to Andrew and just go like, give me 15 minutes, please. And he will be there. The access with the Bootstrap Giants team has been phenomenal. We have gotten access to not only Jesse, but Andrew, Mac, Adam. It's a very active team. They're always there on Slack. They always respond to your questions. And it's almost like a ecosystem that's been created for you, that you can take an ecosystem that's created for you that you can take a lot of help from and depend on.
And I'm there. I mean, we had one member come into Austin and he said, Andrew, can I get together with you? I said, absolutely. We got together. He goes, Andrew, I've been hearing about these self-driving cars. And also I go, yeah. You want to try it? He goes, yeah, but I drive on the other side of the road. I'm from London. I go, here, get in my car. I hit the self-driving mode. The car started driving him through Austin. We had a great time. And then the details of that was I understood his business better and we were able to help him and stay in touch with him. And we're doing business with him right now. He built a whole business basically selling this process as a service for other companies because it works so well. Absolutely. If you want to join, you can join right now. I'm going to put a link in the chat for you to join. Go to accelerator.bootstrapgiants.com, accelerator.bootstrapgiants.com. As soon as you get there, you're going to see Jesse's beautiful face up on the site here with a video. You're going to see some of our graduates and all their names, full names, company names. Feel free to reach out to them. We are really excited about the membership in the program, not just me, Jesse, and the team of people who are here to help you, but we've got members who are phenomenal. Here's one of our members.
I'm Greg Dineo. I run ContentCuppy.com. We are a SEO agency for B2B SaaS companies. Everybody who is in the course is at a level that you are. So you're not going to be, you're not going to be in a course where there's people who are just getting started, right? Who are at 0 MRR or at 1,000 the monthly revenue, right? Everybody's going to be like 20, 30, 30K MRR up to there's people in the course doing 2 to 3 million in ARR. And so you get to learn from the people who are ahead of you because there's going to be people ahead of you, which is amazing.
In fact, we have one of our members here. Chirag, are you able to get on camera here? Let's get you on here if you can join. Oh, Chirag. First, give your full name so that people can then go stalk you and make sure you're a real person and then contact all your people on LinkedIn. Just to, let's tell people what it's like. And by the way, I'm going to put it in the chat again, a link so you can all join in if you think this is a good fit for you.
Yeah, my name is Chirag Kulkarni.
And what did you get out of the accelerator? What did you learn, and what were you able to do with it?
So I think it's many of the things you guys discussed, but I think for us particularly, so just for context, I run a business that does SEO for companies. So we use AI agents and AI workflows to help companies with SEO. So it's a pretty crowded space, I think, in general. And, I think historically for most of these services businesses, as Andrew and Jesse mentioned, you're heavily reliant on referrals, right? So I was going to our existing customers and asking them, hey, do you know anyone that we can help, right? And the problem with that is you aren't really in control when it comes to managing that, right? Like, I can't manage like when someone is going to think about us and then introduce us to a company, right? And so I think the best thing for me was developing an actual process that you can switch on and switch off if you need to, right? Because if you have enough demand, then you can obviously switch it off or tone it down. But you can also use it to throttle, right, accordingly. And we generated a little bit under 400K in revenue from it. Hopefully
A
today,
little bit under 400K.
yeah, from mutual intros. And hopefully today, if the deal that I think that
Comes through to some dude. I didn't know that. Oh, that's awesome.
thank you. Hopefully we'll be at 600K. So I think just having again access to the team, like I think some of the folks mentioned, like you can message Jesse, you can message Andrew Winter, right? Who is great for how do you track this? How do you measure this? You can talk to Andrew Warner. And these aren't like random people, right? These are people who have ran multi-million-dollar businesses. Andrew Warner has talked to how many entrepreneurs. So I think having access to these people for real-time questions, I was having a challenge where I would keep saying like, let me know at the end of the emails I'd be sending. And like, that's not what you want to say. You always want somebody to end with what's the next step to like allow them down the journey through the sales motion. Like I didn't know that. I've done sales before, but like those like intangible things you learn through other members, having access to people who are also A grade, when it comes to their businesses is obviously great too. So just a few things that I think I got from this.
You were someone who I talked to in those 43 calls, and you said, "Well, Andrew, I'm already doing sales. I don't know. What should I join?" What do you say to someone who's thinking, "I don't know. I'm doing sales. Why should I join?"
Yeah, so for context, right, like just from this webinar and just from emails that Jesse had, right, I generated the first 2 sales. But, it's one thing to do this on a one-off basis, like me scrambling around LinkedIn, and a second thing to actually develop a process and then back into, okay, this month, if I'm trying to close 3 deals this month, how many mutual intros do I need to get? Like, I don't know the answer to that before this, right? And then again, these tangibles, these nuances around what do I say in this conversation? The other thing I learned is that in every meeting, there needs to be an action item. So you don't just like let somebody go off into the ether and decide on their own. You say, hey, do you have 15 minutes to discuss the proposal that we sent over next week? Right. So again, these small things that maybe seem very, obvious to some folks, but when you're through like the 6 weeks, you are selling. And so as a result, like you are practicing these things and it becomes a part of your ethos. And like, so the math for me was pretty simple. For the
Thanks.
cost of this, if I closed one deal, I would make up this in multifold, right? In terms of like what the cost would be. And so we did that. Like one of the mutual intros that I got through the program in 45 days. So after, 15 days after the program ended, actually turned into 8K a month in revenue, right? And so to me, it was like a no-brainer. If I can make one sale off of this, then it'll pay for itself, in multitudes. And not just that, you also have a process and a system. So it was kind of to a degree, it was a math equation for me, right?
I wanna say something about how you did this as advice for other people who are gonna be working with us, but what's the domain before I come back into the presentation? What's your domain?
Taco.co.
Taco dot?
.co.
.co, right on. All right, the thing that I want you all to take, thanks for coming on. I know you got a sales call right now, so I appreciate you coming on before. The one thing I would say to everybody who's watching this is when you work with us, do what Chirag did, which is I'll text you. I want you to text us back. In fact, here, look, this is one of the first things that you're going to get as soon as you sign up and work with us. An introduction to Jesse. Make sure that you get from me and him so that you can start getting to work. And here's the person asking the question, Jesse getting right immediately into it. I will immediately text you so that in the middle of the night when you come up with a question, or in the middle of the day when you're stuck, you know who you can reach out to. And as you've seen from everyone who's been in here, it's easy to reach out to us and we keep checking up on you. This is a recording that I had, Jesse, with one of our graduates. Actually, while he was in the program, I was checking in on him because I do that.
Biggest thing I learned is that the results are lagging. I went hard at mutual intros at the beginning of this accelerator and was really excited. And then there was a big dip, no replies, no nothing. And I'm like, oh, this doesn't work at all. And then I kid you not, the 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, I've got 16 meetings booked. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, everything just lagged.
Yeah, and not only that, when I asked him for permission if I could use that, he said to me, "Yes, and of those people who I told you on that one-on-one Zoom, yes, you can show it to the audience here, but also you should know I closed one of those sales." Yes, we are now getting started right now. In fact, we're gonna start immediately working on your LinkedIn profile. We're starting right today. I want you to join if you're a good fit, meaning if you're running a business where you're selling to businesses, this is the time to join. I'm gonna put a link in the chat for everybody. Hit that link. It's only $5,000 to join. And immediately what we're going to do is get to work helping you close sales. And if you're someone who with 1 to 3 sales can more than pay for this program, it's a no-brainer for you. And I'm going to show you why in a moment. The guarantee that I will give you today if you join, because I'm that confident that this will work for you. I'm that confident. And so,
Andrew, can you go week by week to share with what we're going to cover each week with the program? Because I don't think we covered that.
yes, here's what we're going to be doing. It's going to be included. We're going to talk about in week number 1, the whole process, top to bottom. It's going to be one of the most meaty things that you'd ever done. And people say their brains are just blown with the first setting. Actually, mine's are blown. But here's what we'll do. We'll walk through the whole process of getting introductions, of following up with them, of booking meetings, of having the meetings, of following up, the whole thing A to Z. And then we show you how we track your results so that you know how I can help you from week to week. That is the very first thing we do. The next week, we come back in and we start to work on the details of how to get this right. And and one of the first things we'll do then is talk to you about your mindset, which is something, Jesse, I said, I don't think we should do it in week number 2. And you said, yes, we do need to do it in week number 2. For people who are asking, is this live or recordings? It is so live that we will stop and work with you on your problem in the session. It's absolutely live. Well, actually, Jesse, no, we're starting in a few days. I brought in someone that you hired at Gateway X to help out with LinkedIn profiles. I recruited them to work with our people next week on their LinkedIn profiles. As soon as you sign up, we will get you guys started with that. And then Jesse's part will come in right after that. So then we get into mindset. And what you won't realize is there are blocks that you have to why you're not getting meetings. There are blocks that you have to requesting introductions. And we're going to break through all of those blocks. And Rachel's got the whole curriculum in the chat here if you want to take a look at it. I'll give you an overview of a few other things that come up with that. The ICP, a lot of people think that they don't have the right customer, the ideal customer profile. We'll work with you to figure out how to get the right customer profile. Who should you sell to? Who's the hell yes, I want to buy from you? And who should you stay away from because it's just going to suck up your time? Then module 3, we get into the offer. And the offer is, how do you make something that's, how do you explain what you're doing in a compelling way? I'm talking too fast, Jesse, aren't I? Let me take it down a notch. And how to build it, how to keep iterating, and we'll show you examples of.
While you catch your breath, Andrew, one thing I want to emphasize that Chirag said for everyone is there's like real tactical, like he was kind of calling them intangible, little things you do in your emails, little gaps you have in the way you say things, and you don't realize how much those are impacting you in a negative way, or you're selling to 3 customers and one of the customers makes no sense. And this feedback cycle really tightens things up, and that's what unlocks a lot of the success people have experienced in it. You're on mute, dude.
Thank you. It's all thought out step by step. I was giving myself a breath. Step by step, how to make the offer, how to run a sales meeting, how to run a tight sales process so that you and your customers know what comes up after each step of the way. And then we talk to you about how to delegate it so that you can hire a team of people to work with you to close it. Jesse's not a growth assistant closing every sale every day. He's doing this with a team of people who are working with him, and we'll get you there too. So I'll be honest with you all, it's not for you if you're somebody who is selling to consumers versus businesses. Like if you're running a small business selling to consumers a small dollar, it's not a good fit. If you're charging less than $1,000 per sale, number one, Jesse's going to convince you and explain to you how to sell for a higher price point. And until you get to that higher price point, it's not a good fit. And we do want you to sell for more than $1,000 per sale and ideally multiple, and we'll get you there. It's not for you if all you want to do is sell using web pages. You need to actually talk to people. We've had someone who paid, and Jesse said, this person's not willing to get on conversations with people. It's just not a good fit. Let's be honest with them early and give them their money back. And we did. Jamie got his money back. If you're not feeling comfortable talking to customers, it's not a good fit. If you just want to learn, it's not a good fit for you. And if you don't have a business yet, in most cases, it's not a good fit for you. But it is absolutely perfect for you if you're selling to businesses. There's no better way to sell to businesses than this warm introduction-based approach, this meeting-based approach. If you're selling services that are similar to Ampush or Growth Assistant or Jesse's companies, absolutely perfect. Some of the scripts you're going to learn, you're going to use exactly because they work for him in that business. They work for others in that business. It'll work for you. If you have a high price point, of course, it's going to be a good fit. One sale will more than make up for it. If you're coachable, if you love getting direction and then iterating and iterating, you're going to love this. We're going to work with you individually to get you there. If you're prepared to have sales conversations, if your business is doing 15 to 250 per month, it's a no-brainer for you. We can absolutely grow that for you. And if you're opening to hire a sales team in the future, we will tell you this is a great fit for you. And as a matter of fact, if you join right now, while you're hearing my voice, while you're using this link, I will personally guarantee that you will get a sale. Just follow the process step by step. I will guarantee you get a sale. Jesse, I've been sending you pictures of how I am using an app called Lose It to lose weight, and to watch how much I'm eating. And what they say is, if you just follow this, by the end, you'll have lost this many pounds. It's a no-brainer. If I reduce my calories and I continue my activity a way that I do, I will absolutely lose weight. And they're telling me this by, what is it, February something? I forget what it is. I don't even think about it anymore. I just do the steps. I will say the same thing to you. If you're willing to put out offers with us, if you're willing to follow up when someone says, yes, I'll make an introduction, if you're willing to get on a meeting with them and not say, okay, I'll get on a meeting with you in 2 months, but do it immediately. If you're following through on this, I will guarantee that you will close a sale during this process. What I want you to do is right now, hit this link, join us and join Chirag Kilkani, join Greg from Content Guppy and all the people that you saw, and you will see that you will absolutely close a sale with us and your whole business will change. And all right. And we've seen this work for so many other people. This is our internal Slack of how many people are really happy to have gone through this, and you'll get to meet a lot of them as you come through this. All right. I do talk pretty fast. It's a good thing I introduced the whole New Yorker part, Jesse. I think that explains a lot. But I didn't curse. I kept it together. I didn't bring out the full New York. All right. So any questions about this program? Any questions about sales in general? I know a few of you were asking for the slides. If you just put your email address in here, I'll just copy and paste the email addresses I get, and I'll BCC you the slides. Just put them in right now, and I'll do it for you after I'm done. Okay.
There's some good questions coming in.
Anyone that caught your eye?
Any examples of helping services, businesses, agencies that are currently executing individual programs to develop recurring revenue offers? If I understand that, I mean, I think that's what we do. Right?
Yeah. The thing that Harvey's asking is another question that's come up, Jesse. Do you share tips and thoughts on structuring the delivery of services and the fulfillment?
Yeah, I'd say I wouldn't join because of that. Like you're gonna get probably a lot of that through the Slack discussions and through other comparing with other entrepreneurs and just tidbits I'll mention. This is focused on sales. We will at some point launch a service delivery accelerator. But I do want to go back to what I said, Harvey, earlier, which is when I actually ask why enough times, it's typically people are stuck into the pendulum because they overhire, then they don't have enough revenue because something churns, and then they have to like move the people around. They can't get a solid footing, and the reason for that is actually at the top of the funnel because they're not consistently getting meetings and closing. So you'd be surprised at how much a consistent process creates predictability downstream in the business, which then allows you to solve the service delivery issue because you can hire people and you can structure it. So it's not, I mean, it's 10-20% in addressing that in the program. You'll hear it, but you'll pick up a lot from it.
Yeah. Corentin is asking, can you share more about the warm intro email framework?
Yeah, I mean, we've done that. We did that the last session. I think that's a big part of this. The whole first week is focused on it. What we want to teach you to do is identify a set of your customers and the actual people who are your target customers, and then work your LinkedIn and work your network to be able to get an introduction to those people. And so there's a lot of different methodologies for it. The simplest version is find the person you want to talk to, see if you have mutual intros, and then make a request. And it sounds simple, but there's a bunch of small nuances in how do you ask for the request? How do you send an email that makes sense? There's other programs we talk about. We have like a super connector system where we will identify people, 10 to 20 people in your network who are super connected with your prospects. And how do you bring those people in to start to become evangelists for your business? So there's a lot of different ways. And there's also just, sometimes we get it too ahead is the basic LinkedIn and networking 101 stuff we do in the early stages, which is get your profile to look a certain way, make sure your connections are there, reach out and have regular meetings with your network because that starts to lead to a really sustainable way of selling.
Um, A few people have been asking about access to us. How do we stay on top of things? What you'll see is that we will ask you for your numbers, the key metrics, and those key metrics will show me where things aren't working for you, where you're not getting your conversions, and that's where we'll spend time with you. And as Chirag Kulkarni said when he was on here, he said there are other people on the team who are experts at different aspects of this, who we can get you in one-on-one DMs with, and even one-on-one one-on-one Zooms with to help you out.
Yeah, one thing we didn't talk about, Andrew, that maybe we should start putting in this presentation is, that we have I have other businesses running, and I think this is for me a thing. Like I love helping entrepreneurs back to being a teacher and to like,
Yeah.
and I want to see how effective these systems can work for other people's companies. So my data collection is actually, can I teach 6 weeks and can I get results? Like Chirag's thing was exciting for me because I'm like, if I want to scale what Gateway X does to multiple entrepreneurs, almost like Y Combinator, this is my way of experimenting with it to figure it out. And so we're not trying to do this to make the most money. We're trying to do this to figure out how we have impact on other entrepreneurs. And because Andrew and I are passionate and love helping other people, other entrepreneurs going through the grind.
We've got a question from Subuhi who's saying, will this be good for talent placement agencies similar to Growth Assistant? Absolutely. And one of the big hesitations that they have is they know that we can work with them and we can get them the results they're looking for. But what I've heard a lot, Jesse, is Jesse going to feel uncomfortable with me using his ideas to run a talent agency if he's running a talent business? What do you think about that?
I mean, I think if something was directly competitive and showing up in pitches, then Adrian would probably kick my ass if I let them into this program. But the beauty of the talent and the global talent market is it's massive. And we had, I think, 3 people in the last Accelerator who were in it. They were just selling to customers that they were selling different roles and to different customers. So there wasn't actually any direct competitive overlap with Growth Assistant. And maybe those are businesses that we'd buy at some point in the future. So I'm a big sort of pie growing type of guy. And my view is, this is stuff I want people to grow and have success with and be able to scale up.
Yeah. And one of the people was Faiz, who runs Offshore Launch. He runs a similar business. He was able to use a lot of your scripts and a lot of your approaches to close sales for his business. And his business is geared towards people who are like roofers and are in the home business. Okay. Will this be going on again? Will you do another cohort? I don't know. I mean, ideally, we'll do some other cohorts as we continue. But one thing that I've noticed is that Jesse and Growth Assistant has gotten, and Ox and others have gotten a lot out of learning their process and sharing it. When you teach, you learn again. And so this we've done. We might take on a different topic in the future. So I don't know, but I can say this. I can guarantee that we will be in there with you right now, working with you and getting results. If you're thinking about what happens 3 months from now, I think the best way to get that answer is to create a great 3 months from now together with us. All right. We're getting started immediately. I saw that Billy was eager to join, and one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to send Billy my number so that we can get started working with Billy, just like we can with Janak, who I mentioned earlier, and Jason, uh, and Scott, and so many other people who are in. Yeah, I saw. Sorry?
Oh, I said he joined. That's awesome.
Yeah, let's get Billy on here actually while we're taking questions. And we're going to end in less than 10 minutes. I'm trying to be as disciplined about time as possible because I know we booked it for a certain amount of time. So in about 9 minutes, we're going to be done. Billy, I'd love to get you on here to talk about why you joined and how you're planning to use this. Let's see if he's up. There we go. Hey, Billy.
Hi, gentlemen. Sorry, I was actually late, but I was actually looking forward to this whole meeting. I've been following Jess, and I'm actually connected with Adrian, and I've been monitoring growth assistance, and I've been wanting to learn. I didn't know you guys were offering your playbook, so I'm anxious to start and understand what you do. I have a similar business. I sell offshore resources, but in the technology space. And I've been struggling for a good year trying to figure it all out and get I've paid people. I've listened to the quote experts. I got a bunch of automation. Nothing's working. So I'm looking forward to seeing if what you have to offer will actually benefit me. So
Did you have any hesitation about joining? I know that when it's a big step, right? It's not just the money. We're asking you to put in work and we're asking you to push yourself beyond your comfort zone, right? And I'm saying to you, I will step in if you're not doing enough outreach, which for some people might feel like it's super helpful that Andrew's there for me, but also it might feel like it's a lot of work. It's a coach yelling at me. Not that I yell, but it's a coach pushing me. Did you have any hesitations?
I don't because I mean, I've hired people, I've tried to recruit salespeople. I've sought out paid consultants. I have a volunteer score.org volunteer I'm going to meet next week. So I'm looking for the direction. I'm a technologist at heart, not a salesman, but I'm an entrepreneur. So I want to understand the sales process so that I can learn and teach other people and grow my business. So if somebody wants to hold me accountable, but not a problem.
Yeah,
So
absolutely will do that.
But I think being a technologist will help you a lot, Billy, because we'll talk a lot about creating that credibility and trust in the process up front. And that's a great line. And a lot of times people like you try to become salespeople. You're not a salesperson.
I'm not
So
a
you who
salesperson.
are that with a little bit of guardrails around it will allow you to keep the deals on track and moving forward.
Yeah, I'm excited, guys. I was actually reflecting today in prayer, and I think this might be my answered prayer. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited to work with you. Corintian, I got your name pronounced right. Thanks for coming on with us. Billy, feel free to stay on or jump off. We'll be getting to know each other a lot in this 6-week program. You've been having some questions here in the chat. I thought I could just bring you in. You need to unmute yourself. Will this, wait, let me see. Will it allow you to unmute yourself? Yeah, try it now.
Yeah, nice working. Yeah, thanks a lot for welcoming me. Yeah, Corentin, that's French pronunciation. Quarantine is not too bad. As long as you don't say quarantine, I'm fine. Yeah, actually, the last question that I dropped in the chat was about the video made available. I'm not sure if you already answered that, but it's usually a very popular question.
Would you ask again? I've been seeing a few different questions from you, and I want to make sure I'm clear about it.
The recording was
Well, the recording. Yeah, we'll have a recording, I expect. But how are you planning on using this? And Isaiah, we'll bring you on next. How are you planning on using this?
what do you mean the
The recording, our process. What are you selling?
So, yeah, okay. What I'm saying, so it's a bit similar to the previous session. I don't like talking about resources. But I do a bit more than, so I work in the technology space. I do custom software development, and I do create and build teams. So it's a bit different than JC, just like doing the one-to-one matching, and bit different than just like bringing resources to so it's different than the staffing, the technical terms of staffing, and agency. And so we're sort of an hybrid. Yeah, so that's what we do. Not sure if that was clear, but yeah. And yeah,
What's holding you back from joining the accelerator? Be open.
sure. The budget at the moment, I don't have a budget, but sales goes up and down, and that may change in the future. And I definitely will reconsider them. And I've been following you, Andrew, for like many, many years since 2010, 12 when you started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to get you on. I've got to tell you, we had one other person in the program, Alex, who was brand new to doing the kind of work you're doing, and he said, "I don't know if I'm a good fit." And I said, "You're not, but I really like you. I like working with you." And he got in, he created sales opportunities for himself while we were going, and he was so new. He, unlike you, he hadn't had the progress that you have, that in the beginning, I would literally make Friday night meals for my family because that's the time that I just want to veg out. And I will have him in my ears talking to me through his sales and celebrating the wins and pushing him to go a little bit further. I feel confident that if you are up for this, that we could deliver a lot for you, and I'd like to work with you. And I'm gonna put the link in the chat, and it's, and if you just wanna get on a call with me, you've got my email address. Actually, here, it's Andrew@Bootstrap Giants. Let's get on a call and talk. Fair?
Yeah, so it's great. Thanks so much.
Okay. In fact, I don't like in favoritism. I'm gonna put my calendar, sorry, I wanna make sure that everyone has an opportunity. If you are here, if for some reason you are not interested or you're not ready to sign up right now and you do wanna get on a call with me, you gotta do it quickly because we're, like I said, we're starting next week. Book it. Here's a link in the chat. All right. Thank you. Let's go to Siobhan, who I asked to jump on here, and then we're going to close it out. Siobhan, thanks for turning your camera on.
No worries, and thanks for the session, both Andrew and Jesse. It's really good. A lot of things, if I'm honest, that I was actually quite surprised to hear. So, really interesting. I've been taking notes throughout, as just kind of highlighting the key areas, especially around the structure. Super interesting. Being transparent, my boss is the one who will be making a decision. So I'll be giving my notes to him today, before we close off for the day. But I think definitely I'll be looking to book some time with you guys, learn a little bit more. But I think everything you were going through, I think the structure and how you presented it, you've almost kind of, it was a sales call in itself. This is the way I see it, but it was really well presented. I think there's lots of learnings throughout the process. So yeah, looking forward to hopefully working with you guys.
What are you gonna say to your boss? What are you gonna say to your boss about the program?
I love that question. I mean, that's probably one thing you need to be asking, especially me anyway. Well, first thing, I'm going to give him my thoughts and recommendations about the things I've learned. I think most importantly is it's not just about the investment of paying the amount for the Accelerator program. It's what does that mean for the future of the business, and longer term. So I'll present that to him. I'll present the website I've taken down as well, along with all of my notes, and hopefully we'll be in a position to progress and actually be part of the program. When is there a cutoff time as well? I know you've got only so many applicants.
Starting next week. I'm starting like right away. I'll start with you today, but next week is when we're getting going, and we're going to start by bringing in somebody who's worked with Jesse's companies on LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn profile will have a dramatic change at the end of next week, and then Jesse's going to teach the following week. So yes, the cutoff is very quick. This is like a last minute thing. Let's get on.
Definitely. No, I appreciate the time, both. Thank you very much.
All right. Hell yeah, Siobhan. I'm glad that we got on together. Jesse, this has been phenomenal. I like see you put the emerge from this.
Close it out.
All right. I'm going to close it out by saying to every single person, you've heard me guarantee this. If you are doing B2B, I'm guaranteeing, tell your boss, Siobhan, Andrew will guarantee a sale. I will do the work. Or maybe your boss gets on and let's get your boss to do the work. But if you, and we'll make it super simple. We'll help you find your ideal customers out there. We'll help you find people who make warm introductions. When you get a warm introduction as opposed to a cold email, you don't have someone who's like this the whole time, who you get in a like rhythm with and suddenly ghosts you because there's another person who knows you. And so they want to be considerate. You even, Siobhan, if they say no to you when it's a warm intro, like, all right, it's not a good fit for me, but I think I know someone, or let's really stay connected, not just say we'll stay connected. And then you can ask for another warm intro to somebody else. It's a completely different way of doing sales. If you've been doing cold emails or waiting for referrals, I'm going to put the link right now. Every single person who joins is going to work directly with me, directly with Jesse, directly with the team to grow your sales. 3 months from now, your sales are going to be dramatically different. You've heard from people. I never use first name, last initial, full name, full website. Go link them up or ask me and I'll connect you with them. We will grow your sales if you're interested. And I'm looking forward to working with those of you who are. All right. I think we've closed it out now. And thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jesse.
Sign up now.
Sign up
my
right now.
action.
Link is in the chat. Bye, everybody.
Take care, guys.